Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today we have a ton of new cards to look at. Recently, as in like yesterday, I made a video talking about a bunch of cards from the set, as well as the new trading feature in Pocket, just some general like news stuff. But immediately after that happened, literally the entire set, Battle Partners, was revealed, and or at least all the cards were revealed. The set isn't out yet; it'll be out on January 24th in Japan, and then the expansion Journey Together, the international set, releases on March 28th, and that'll contain some stuff from the EX Star deck generations, including Blaziken EX, which has been talked about some, as well as I believe a Lilligant and some other cards that are not super interesting to be honest, but there are a few that are worth mentioning. And the bulk of the set will be battle partners though. There are also these promos that we're going to talk about first. These are gym promos or something like that in Japan. Some of them are cards we've seen before, or that we have now, Arvin, Buddy Buddy Poffin, and Tatsugiri. But then we also have some other ones. Three of them are brand new. And Pokemon Center Lady is an alternate art reprint of a card that is in standard. Um, I think no, it's not in standard. People don't like play this card. It saw some play, but if you look through here, it looks like it just played a ton, but it was in the game for a long time. Regardless, Pokemon Center Lady says you heal 60 from when you're a Pokemon and it recovers from all special conditions. There are cards kind of like this, and none of them are particularly great, though you could play this if you want to. And the recovering from special conditions probably won't matter. The healing could matter some. But yeah, that's a card. It's fine. And then we have this Drifblim and Drifbloom line, and they're not particularly interesting, either one of them. Obviously, there's a very good Drifloon in the format right now, which is surviving rotation as well, and is a card that will obviously like you'd want to play if you're playing Drifloon in like Gardevoir EX, and if you're playing a Drifblim for whatever reason, this could be the best one as it does have a gust attack. But then you have Drifblim here, which can confuse or for 2 psychic 110, return this Pokemon and all attached cards to your hand. So if you are playing the Drifloon in Gardevoir, you could play this Drifblim. Is it like good? Probably not. Theoretically, I believe you could knock yourself out as well if you do it wrong with like Bravery Charm and stuff. So don't do that. That's like hard to do. You probably need to go out of your way to do that. But regardless, you do get to heal yourself. You return the energy to your hand. That's probably not what you want to do. You'd rather the energy be probably on the Drifloon because it'll probably just get knocked out and then it'll all get discarded, which is where you want it. And also, you want the damage on it. So ultimately, Drifblim isn't particularly good, but it is a card that is like somewhat, like you could say some stuff about, and it probably won't see play, but maybe someone will toss it into a Gardevoir deck. Though again, post rotation, Gardevoir is taking a big hit with losing Kirlia. Hops Pincurchin EX is a really interesting card actually. So the expansion Battle Partners is primarily focused on, well, the main thing at least is trainers Pokemon. There are a lot of regular not trainers Pokemon in the set, but the main trainer actually is Hop and is getting a bunch of cards. Iono and Lily are getting less cards though. And so we'll talk about that in just a moment. But Hops Pincurchin EX is really interesting. This is the only lightning type Hops Pokemon, but there's only 2 metal Pokemon and 2 fighting, which are an evolution line. So ultimately, you could go any which way with those because there's a bunch of colorless Pokemon which are the main focus, and some of the other attackers are they don't require a ton of specific type attachments. So, or I don't think they do. It depends how you want to build it. But Hops Pincurchin EX is kind of interesting if it's in the active and damaged by an attack. Put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Someone in the comments of this Pokebeach article, I think, said that it allows it like counters Badoo. It's not necessarily I mean, ultimately you need to find the Pokemon, get it into the active, but that's not super hard to do. But you can use Hops Pincurchin EX to counter Badoo, which could be nice. I don't know how big of an issue Badoo actually would be for the Hops deck, but that is a thing. And then also your attack is for Lightning colors, though with Hops Choice Band. Yeah, Choice Band, I think. Then you do an extra 30. You can push all the way up to an extra 90, and then you also only attack for 2 lightning, and then you draw 2. This is okay. It's like with all the buffs, it's okay. It's actually like solid with the buffs. It's not amazing, but it's decent. And drawing cards is like kind of nice. Ultimately, attacks like this that do damage and like draw some cards or even like search for cards generally aren't particularly good. I can't think of any that are super strong. I can think of like Togekiss VMAX, which was a while ago, but not super strong. Okay and expanded. And then and then Blissey EX is kind of like that as well. Obviously, it has a bunch of different things going for it, including its high HP and its useful ability. However, its attack is okay, but just okay. So Hop's Pincushion EX I have similar feelings about as well. It also is not tanky, so it's kind of whatever, but I do think it is a card that could be played. You obviously have Electric Generator, and you have the Hop's Choice Band, and you have a bunch of cards that can allow you to just power yourself up and be a decent, solid attacker. Then we have the cards from the main set Battle Partners, and there's a bunch of stuff. I've talked about most of it before, but there are definitely some cards I haven't talked about, a good chunk, and some are really cool. We got this Butterfree line. This is for 1 grass. You flip 4 coins, 60 for each heads. If 2 or more heads, your opponent's active is paralyzed. This feels like a pocket card. Obviously higher damage though. And this is actually like theoretically it's okay damage and paralysis is good. This isn't a terrible card. Obviously not a super standout card either. But it's a card that you could play probably if you really wanted to, but not one I'd recommend playing either. This Parasect is new. It's a pretty generic card though, not much to say about it, but yeah, it can put your opponent's active to sleep, can do some damage here. Depending on coin flips, can do up to 120 for 2 on a stage 1, which isn't even that good. And you need to get lucky to do that, but it is a card here. Maractus we did take a look at as yeah, it's like a very mediocre Pokemon with some interesting control aspects, but it's not great. Then we have Carablast and Shelmet. They don't have synergy, but there is both an Excelgor and an Escavalier in the set. But Excelgor is really interesting in my opinion. Not like super good, but it's interesting. Ephemeral Poison it does 70 for Grass Colorless, which isn't super easy to pay, but not the hardest either. Your opponent's active is now confused, and Poison switches to one of your bench Pokemon, and I'm pretty sure this is a callback to the Excelgor from this one, the one from Dark Explorers, which had deck and cover, which for 2 colorless it did 50 paralyzed, poisoned, and shuffled itself, and all cards attached into the deck. So it was hit and run, poison, and a disruptive special condition. This is also that it does slightly more damage, but hardly more damage, especially counting 4 power creep. It's like not that different. And then ultimately, confusion's obviously worse than paralysis. And they're oh wait, no, this is definitely supposed to be like because Excelgor was played with a few different cards, but the one that I remember most is Excelgor Gothel. Gothel has its ability as long as it's in the active. Your opponent can't play any items from his or her hand, and that's the same ability as the. Oh, okay. I think this isn't loading for me. Um, that's the same ability as okay um as the Tyranitar, which can I get that to load? There we go. So its ability says it's the same thing, right? When it's the active your opponent, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand, and you're not using it for its attack probably. This deck was like kind of cool, I guess. I don't know if it's actually cool. Paralysis plus item lock is sure is something. And the other builds were like paralysis plus ability lock. Ultimately, this isn't paralysis, so it's not as good. It's noticeably worse. It's hard to pay. You can pay it with a reversal energy theoretically, but you can't always use reversal. And so Excelgor isn't great, but it is an interesting card to consider. And we have a hit and run item lock threat as well. So there's some interesting things going on here. Maybe not interesting as in like actually fun, but theoretically good cards here. Not the best though. Then um, this Octillery. Oh, this Articuno is new. It's not very good, but it is new. It searches energy and like attacks. It's very generic. Then we have Octillery. This one's also pretty generic. You can like flip coin until you get tails, do 90 for each heads. That's like not very good. But it is a card averaging like I think 90. I'm pretty sure that's how the math works, which isn't that much. And then even if you flip 2 tails, it's not that good. It's okay. If you flip 3 heads, if you flip 3 heads, it's good. But it's not even like amazing if you flip 3 heads. It's pretty good. But regardless, you obviously won't do that. And then you have a disruptive attack here for 1 water on this Remoraid or on this Octillery, and you do 20, put an energy attached to your opponent's active to their hand, which is interesting. It's like disruptive. It's not horribly disruptive, but it could be okay. We've seen disruptive cards be okay in the past like this, but generally not amazing either. Especially like this, generally they're a little stronger if they're good. Then we have some where are the new cards? I think this Mr. Rhyme's new. It's not very interesting, but has some like mediocre. It has a setup attack and it has like a moderately disruptive attack. Nothing special, but it's a new card. I think I actually don't remember if this one's new, but I don't remember seeing it before. Anyways, then we have the cards that I think were potentially the most awaited cards that we hadn't seen so far, which are the Lili's cards. I believe these are last ones. Lili's Cutie Fly is very generic. Lili's Rabombi has its ability once during your turn with Inviting Wink. You can when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. So I don't know why it says once during your turn. Like if you scoop it up, you could do it again anyways because it like switches zones. And once it's in play, you're not gonna like do it again. Anyways, you may look at your opponent's hand, choose any number of basic Pokemon you find there, and put them onto your bench. And so that's like kind of good, kind of like Erica's Invitation, which is a decent supporter card in Standard. It's not a great card, like it's definitely a pretty niche card in a relatively, I'd say, a niche deck. I mean, it's like in Snorlax and potentially Pidgeot Control, though it's not as important there. But definitely a card that has seen play and like a tier 2 supporter. It's pretty niche in decks that aren't Snorlax or Pidgeot, but you could play it with like here we have an Arceus and Charizard, and I think there's a Future Box deck that played it, and you do Great Tusk as well, which is that's like control, but it is a card that you can play. And it is your supporter for the turn, which means if you miss, then you can't Gust. Well, you could Counter Catcher, but you can't Boss, you can't I don't know, things like that. So um, this Liz Rabombi does open up some options. Is it good? Not. It's not great. Also, there is a Rabombi in Standard. Oh, there is a Rabombi in Standard. That one's like bad slash weird. But there was just the one that was like disruptive as well. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, they are not going to be able to be played at the same time. So that is a thing. If they could be played together, they'd be interesting. Also, 30 HP on a basic is obviously bad. The other Cutie Fly, oh, it also has 30. It does not have free retreat. Okay, that's bad. So yeah, I guess this is the best you got. Oh wait, no, this isn't. What am I saying? This isn't Rabombi and Cutie Fly. So ignore all that stuff I just said. Um, it didn't actually matter anyways, but regardless, Lily's Rabombi and Lily's Cutie Fly, not super strong. It's a disruptive card though, kind of interesting. Does have free retreat on the stage one as well. Ultimately, the most important card for the Lily's archetype. Well, there's only a handful of cards, but there's Lily's Pearl, which is the tool card, um, which says that the Lily's Pokemon it's attached to gives up one less prize when knocked out. That's ultimately kind of good for um or that's like really good for like slowing the game down, but it's not really good if you don't have good Pokemon. And this isn't an attacker, right? So I guess giving up one less prize is good, but you don't really want it in the active. Lose Comfy is just truly bad. It's quite. I mean, you can like set up your board, which is like okay, I guess, but it's not great. You know, it's not anything super impressive on an attack. And then you have Fade Out, which is a hit and run attack, which is so bad because the Pokemon that you want to be having in the active is the Lily's Comfy because it doesn't give up any prize with the tool attached. So that looks really weak. And then the Lily's Clefairy EX is actually a really interesting card. It's like Entei or Raikou V. It's the same attack except it's psychic, and then your attack does turns Dragon Pokemon gives Dragon Pokemon a weakness now to psychic, which is good because right now they obviously don't have a weakness and they're really good. They're not going to be as good as they are post rotation, presumably, though I think they'll be pretty good. So we'll see exactly how good this ends up being. But that's a discussion for another day. But I figured I'd start that discussion where there wasn't really a synergy though between Lily's Clefairy EX and I mean like Liz Pearl is like a good card for Liz Clefairy EX, but there's no synergy between the Pokemon really at all. Well, actually, no, there is synergy. I don't know why I said that. Liz Rabombi can boost the damage of Lily's Clefairy EX, which is like okay. It's not actually that good at doing it. Like, um, I'm not super familiar with the like Raikou, Entei, and Suicune decks. I'm more familiar. Like Suicune V was before, which rotated at the same time as not the Rabombi that isn't Lily's Rabombi, but um, that was like played some. I feel like people generally didn't play too many cards to get extra Pokemon on your opponent's bench. There was like Echoing Horn, which you could play one of. You could play more of, but people didn't really. So anyway, Lily's Rabombi is a card that could have synergy with Lily's Clefairy EX, but I feel like you're getting a little fancy. Um, like you could do this with the Raikou V or the Entei V, and they're not super strong cards right now. They're okay. Like they're definitely decent, but they're not amazing. And now you're just playing these cards that have the same like start of their name, but they don't actually have. Like you don't really want to be putting Lily's Pearl on Lily's Rabombi. That doesn't really help you that much. So ultimately, it seems kind of whatever. And I guess there's synergy with Lili's Comfy, but just unfortunately, I don't think good enough. Because you want to be attacking turn one. Then we have Regirock, which takes 30 less damage. It's like it would be kind of interesting in the Reggie's box. Not even that interesting, but they're rotating, so that doesn't matter. We have Cloth. This is like not very good. You can like disrupt for 2 colorless. You flip 2 coins for each heads. Discard energy from your opponent's active. This is kind of interesting as as an energy disruption attack. However, if you know anything about Cloth and Standard right now and rotation, you know double turbo energy is rotating. So I don't know how you'd pay this easily, but I mean you could use like counter gain maybe in a control based deck. This is an interesting card in control. It's not like amazing, but it's okay. And I think this is a better disruptive attack. It actually discards the energy, unlike the artillery, and also it's on a basic, which is nice. Then we have a Wheezing, which does a first attack is 30 in confusion. Then if you use the attack next turn, you can do 170 for 2 in a stage 1. That's not that good. Um, if it was just 170 for 2 in a stage 1, it would be like kind of okay, but it's not. So it's unfortunately very bad. Then we also have Pangoro here. Torment stops one of your opponent's attacks. Next turn, just 30. It's okay, not anything special. Then you have 160 for 3. That's like definitely not special. Then Escavalier is not translated. I don't know what this says. I can't imagine it's like super good though. It's probably a downside, so it doesn't look particularly special there. Um, Oh, I did not see these cards before. We got Ends. Okay. These actually seem kind of bad. So Ends Clang can do some damage. It can do 120 for each heads you flip 3 coins, and then you can do 20 confusion. Um, so the main Ends Pokemon copies attacks on your bench. Um, but that needs to be in play, so you need the stage 2 in play, and it's like not a good attack anyway. So ultimately, I mean, it's an okay attack. It's obviously coin flip dependent. I don't think it's super good. I don't think it's particularly good at all, unfortunately. We got this new Salamence EX, so this one's kind of interesting. It would be really cool in Regidraco, not like insane, but it would be cool. It'd be quite good actually, but I think it would be fair. Regidraco is very good right now, but regardless, it's a cool attack, but it won't be played with Regidraco because it's rotating. But anyways, you can do 50 to each your opponent's bench Pokemon for Fire Colorless. This is like pretty mediocre. For its attack cost, it's actually like kind of bad because it's quite expensive. And then Dragon Impact for Fire Water Colorless, 300, discard 2 from this Pokemon. That's objectively better than Giratina V-Star. If you were playing it in Draco, which yet again, as I said, you cannot do. But ultimately, it is a card that is like, it's kind of interesting. You can do, decent, uh, like damage. It's expensive. It's probably not good. I don't really know how you'd pay this. You have Neo Upper Energy, but that's not amazing. And so it's an okay, kind of interesting card, but it kind of reminds me of Hydreigon EX. I know Hydreigon EX is like better than this, and also I underrate Hydreigon EX. So I don't think this card is particularly good, but it's kind of cool. I just like I feel like I'm being taunted by this in Regidraco. I don't really play Regidraco, but I think it's kind of cool. But you can't do that. You can do an expanded though. Then you have this card, which can the Druddigon, which can accelerate a fire and then what? Oh, okay. A fire energy from a discard to one of your dragon Pokemon. I thought it accelerated a fire energy and a dragon energy, which I was really confused by. It doesn't though. This is what dragon Pokemon I played? I guess this could accelerate to Dreepy, so maybe this is okay. Well, no, it's not that good though. You should just use like one of the TMs, like TM Turbo Energize, or TM Evolution is really in that deck too. So it's like theoretically almost usable, but it's not very good. And you can do 120 for 3, but that's not super good. It's like okay, but not great. Then we've got Norin. Norin's a really interesting card here. Its attack for 3 colorless does 110 and confuses, but its ability is really cool. This is a callback to, I believe, Yanmega Prime or Yanmega, and its ability says if you have the same number, you and your opponent have the same number of cards in hand, ignore all energy, and this Pokemon's Panic Howl attack cost, its regular attack. So unfortunately, no TM stuff here. Yanmega Prime was a really good card back in the day. I didn't really play with it. Like I'm mostly familiar with Black and White on. That's more so because that's expanded and like pretty much all formats. Like I don't know if I actually played this card, but it was playable in Legacy. It was really cool in that format. It was like weaker, but again, power creep. Um, but it had 2 attacks. It had a snipe attack, which is also good. This card was, I think it was quite good. It was like fun. Noivern is kind of fun. It also has free retreat. Yeah, Young Mega Prime also had free retreat. So this is like a theoretically kind of interesting card. Obviously, Noivern, and this is actually Noivern, not like some trainers Noivern, so you can play it. Oh, I forgot there was another EX. Wait, what? I've okay. I guess I've seen this card before. This is one of those generic Star Deck of Generations cards. So there's a good Noivern EX which allows you to do some like disruptive attacks or defensive attacks, which it's a decent card. Then you could pair it with this. They don't necessarily have much synergy, but it's kind of interesting. 110 in Confusion isn't particularly great, but not having to pay energy is nice, although it is kind of awkward to get the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent. Not super hard. There's cards like Judge. Um, there are various cards to disrupt your opponent's hand as well. So it's very doable, but it's generally very doable, but not always very doable. Definitely a cool card though. You got, bro, you got Kamala, and it says Goodnight Knocking, both active or now asleep, and then during your next turn, this Pokemon does, or attacks used by this Pokemon do 100 more, and that's obviously not particularly good. If to your points, yeah, to your points active, probably doesn't live, but it's like kind of funny. It can also still be asleep, but yeah. Then we got, let's see. Super. I don't remember if I talked about Super Potion. Super Potion's coming back. I know this was revealed earlier, and it's a reprint, not in standard, but heal 60 from one of your Pokemon. If you do discard energy from that Pokemon, keep in mind if you don't actually have any energy on that Pokemon, you don't need to discard because you can't, and you can still play this card. Unlike Hyper Potion. Hyper Potion was a while ago by now, but that's different. So this is sometimes just better than Potion, though not always. Then we have, that might be it for new trainers. Um, yeah, I think that's it for the trainers. There aren't really many I mean, we've talked about these. They're interesting, interacting with the trainers. Pokemon, Iris' Fighting Spirit, I think I talked about. You discard a card, drop to of 6. Very generic support as well. There's a bunch of trainers, Pokemon trainers. Yeah, that did not roll off the tongue at all. But yeah, there's a bunch of trainers, Pokemon support cards. So yeah, I think the trainers Pokemon are going to be okay, and the set's going to be pretty good. The Hopsec looks decent, though I'm not exactly sure what its entire game plan is. Though I do like the addition of the Hops Pinkerton EX. I think that's a decent playable card. And then the Ends deck is okay. I just don't know if it's good enough. Then you also have the Lily's deck. Lily's deck isn't really a deck. I'm just going to say that. There's like some cards going on, but it's not really a whole combo. And then the Iono's deck, I don't think is very good. I know someone who's like a big fan of Iono and Belliwell, and I think they're quite I don't know if they're disappointed, but I have a feeling they will be when they play it. But it's not like terrible or anything. And yeah, overall the set looks cool. Does it look amazing? It looks pretty good. Obviously, introducing a new mechanic is fun, but it's not really a new mechanic. Not even just because it's like bringing back an old mechanic, but it doesn't even interact with the like in unique ways. I mean, it's kind of different than what we have now, but it's also kind of like just ancient and future Pokemon. Regardless, Battle Partners is a cool set, and I'm excited to see what happens at the Pokemon TCG this year. There's a bunch of cool stuff happening, which isn't just focused around trainers Pokemon. But tell me down below in the comments what your favorite cards are of the new reveals or just from the set in general. But I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking, subscribing, hitting the bell, joining the channel, all that good stuff. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.